digging through an old Atari system.
I remember that thing. It never worked whenever I was...
No, sir. But we got Pac-Man, Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Jack, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Defender, Asteroids, E.T.
Is that Pitfall in there? No?
Pitfall's in there. The sticker's wearing off.
Oh.
That is bad to the bone. This system don't work no more. That's some cool stuff. Somebody's gonna come home with me today.
What's up, everybody? This is Classic Cars and Comics. In this video, I'm gonna go through an old Atari 2600 plus all the games I found in the garage of my childhood home. So stay tuned, relax, and enjoy.
Keystone Coppers or something like that?
That was the coolest game.
What was it?
Keystone
Coppers?
Coppers?
That was a pretty neat game.
That is awesome. It's got to come home with me. I'm gonna frame these, I think. So as a very wee lad, I had some family friends give us an Atari 2600. They gave us that system plus a boatload of games. I can't tell you how many hours I played this Atari growing up until, Nintendo came out and the system finally spit the bit. Pitfall, looky there.
Oh, there is a Pitfall? Oh, yeah, you said the thing's going on.
Asteroids. That is awesome. Put these in my little old game pile. Oh, look at this. Oh no. No. The sticker come off. I remember this game. So Dragonfire. Old Pitfall. Oh, Superman. What? Oh man, I was hoping it had a graphic with it.
An absolute flood of emotions and memories are just racing through me at this point because I am reliving my childhood in this moment. I am seeing games that I have not seen in 35 years, okay? This was just a really awesome experience for me.
Oh, Keystone Capers, yes sir.
So now this Circus Atari, I can remember playing this game a lot. It had a different controller that I had to use for it. I couldn't just use the regular old joystick with the one button. There was some kind of joystick, I'm like animating it, y'all can't see it here, but it had like a little twist dial on it or something like that. And I believe that was a controller I had to use for that Circus Atari.
Let's see what this one last game is right here. Oh, Spider-Man, whoa, look at that. Spider-Man. That's what I'm talking about. I wish it wasn't so worn, but that is cool. That is awesome.
So these are just a few of the games that I pulled out of that tote. You could see how nasty it was down in there. They have sat there for years, but I just got to racing here like what can I do with these games to save them and then also capture a piece of my childhood. And so as immediately, I think even early on in the videos, I'm videoing it, I say, I think I'm going to frame these. So that's exactly what I ended up doing. So whenever you're planning on framing something, you need to measure the dimensions or take those items with you to the shop that you're buying the frames at. I didn't have the option to take these, so I measured beforehand. And then I started searching online to try to figure out what size shadow box I would need. I suspect we're going to framing. Zig. Man, you gotta pay extra for these sound effects. So we're gonna make our way over to the shadow box section. Now there's multiple sizes of shadow boxes. These are really good for putting your pops in. Oh, you also put pops in these too. Alright, let me get to looking here and we'll come back. I love buy one, get one free. Okay, so I think one of the options is going to be this. And I think I can get 4 games in there straight across, like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there will be about 2 inches or so up here just available. No real estate taken up. But I do like that on the back of this one, you've got just these little tabs right here. And so it gives you all the room that you would need for the depth. I believe if I was just going to frame just a booklet and the game, I could get away with doing one like a 5x7, because I think the booklet's about a 5x7. But I don't know, because you don't get to see much of the booklet by doing it that way. That's a 6x6. You're gonna have to probably jump into something like an 8x10 to be able to display a game and the booklet. Okay, so I think what I'm gonna settle on here is the 8x10, and we'll just end up rotating it on its side. Putting like the instruction booklet and then the game right here. And then right here, I might just put like 1, 2, 3, 4 games in there and just let that display like that. So I think that's what we're gonna roll with. The 5x7s, I'm just worried that you're not gonna really see much of that booklet. I do like that it's in such a compact, design to be able to do a 5x7, but I just don't think you're gonna see much of the booklet, which is some artwork that could be pretty cool and help add to the overall display. Now, if you want a different color background, you can either use some type of fabric to do that, or a lot of times for my framing stuff, I just use like the scrapbooking paper. Sometimes you can get it in cool themes that will, coordinate with whatever you're framing. And it's a really good cheap option. Now, I think in that longer box, I'm gonna use this little 1-inch deal, cut it down for size, put it in there so it sort of elevates instead of just resting the cartridge on the bottom. It'll elevate, and then I'm gonna put some felt over it just to sort of make it look a little bit nicer and give some color contrast in there. Okay, so my total investment at this point is $37.37. Games were free, obviously, and then I spent $37.37 on getting everything I needed. So we're about to enter the prep stage. Now this is something I do for my comic books before I press them. I just take a Kleenex and I just sort of lightly go over the comic book, or in this case, the video game cartridge. Now I'm not trying to remove anything. I'm really not wanting to press too hard because I don't want to remove the stickers. You've already seen some of those stickers naturally come off. The one Star Wars one, for example, it just come right off because heat and glue, they don't mix, all right? So I'm trying to be very careful but remove any kind of little surface dust on the case itself or the display. Now this Miss Pac-Man had a little bit of crud on it. I couldn't get it removed and I wasn't going to press hard. Okay, so since this is a predominantly white booklet, this falls right into my wheelhouse of being able to clean. So I use one of these white erasers and this little paintbrush to be able to swipe away any kind of dirt or debris left by the white eraser. If you've never done this before, and even if you have, I always suggest going to a back cover that's not going to be displayed and start right there, okay? Just like I'm doing. I'm just lightly touching, okay? I'm not going back and forth with the eraser. It's just one stroke, okay? And I'm going forward over and over and over and over and over. All right, so I start on the back cover and I'm just lightly going there. Now this booklet could actually go for a good pressing, but I did a little bit on the back, and I just flipped it back over, and I'm going to start working on the front. I never get that dot removed that's down there. It's some kind of little stain, and it's just not going to be removed by that white eraser. Super, super, super important. Do not use this white eraser on any of the red, black, or anything that has color on it. This is only, and I repeat, only for the white parts of the booklet. Okay, first I'm going to start with the 8x10 case. I got to get it cracked open and then start sort of laying out what I'm looking for, how I'm going to display this one cartridge and one booklet. So these little bobby pins that are in there, I'm going to end up using these later on in this video. So they come in really important for me. I used every single one in each case. Okay, so this is actually a pretty nice background, and if you have something with a lot of color on it, I would strongly suggest probably going with the black background. It's very classy. So here what I'm doing is just laying these cartridges in there to get an understanding and an idea of what will fit in there and sort of how I need to mock this up. Now, you could possibly remove some of these inner pieces of wood and gain just a little bit more space, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things it's going to be really worth it. So 4, okay? And to answer your question, 4 is what you can fit in there. Another key part is a little Windex or some kind of glass cleaner, okay? Spray that on there, clean it out. That way you don't have to go back in after the fact and do this. Okay, so since the cartridge for Donkey Kong and the booklet are very neutral and white cream colors, I decided to go with a different color background to really give some contrast to the actual game and the instructions. So see how much more that pops right there? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the black, but I really, really like the way that that red sort of complements the red on the book and the game, and then just sort of gives you some really good contrast. So now I bought 2 different colors. Now this was sort of hard trying to match it because I didn't have either one of these items with me. And I think I did a pretty good job on matching the color of red. And then I had the boss lady come in here and just look at the 2 different colors to tell me what she thought would be the best match. Okay, so the boss lady weighed in. She says, you know what? I think the red on the left looks the best. I actually like the one on the right, but hey, if you like being married, you stick with whatever your wife says, okay? Very, very good, handy piece of advice for you there. So here I'm just sort of measuring out, the size of the paper that I need to cut. And this is not exact science, okay? Because you'll see once I start trying to manipulate that to get it down into the actual shadow box, I'm having to trim a little bit more and trim a little bit more. Now here I'm just sort of mocking up what I think it may look like, okay? Just to get my sizes right, my portions right, and you'll see right here, I got a little bit too much. You can always trim some off, but you can't add it back. So just do little bitty cuts until you can get it setting in there right. So I'm getting a little bit closer. That's pretty close to being right. You can see all the little pieces on the left that I've trimmed out. So now this is just about me mocking up what I think is going to look good. Also, an easy way to do that is just set it straight down on there, and you get a good look down at, hey, this is what it may look like. We'll come back to that case, but let's move on to this one. Now, I believe, and I believed in the store, that this case would fit 4 because I'd already pre-measured my cartridges. So here I am, I'm just laying them out. If you're in the store, you could do this same thing. You just lay them right there on top. You have a good idea of, hey, look, they should fit in there. And that's what I'm doing right here. I don't know what kind of brain fart I had right here, but it clearly says 11x9, and this is a 14-inch display case. I don't remember if I bought this for the 8x10 or if I bought it for this, but if I bought it for this, I screwed up, okay? This was not long enough, and that's going to become problematic for me. And that's why I went back to the old drawing board to figure out a way to do this. I'd initially planned on putting this down. Oh, pause that thought for a second. This right here, this was messed up. There should have been, there's too much glue on there. That could have really messed up my, my backdrop, but I was able to square all that away. So see the difference here? Because, hey, dum-dum, that doesn't fit there. That's way too small. So my original thought was that I would elevate these by about an inch and take up, some of that room that's in there. So there just wasn't this extra amount of room that I talked earlier. This is also key, okay? Whenever you're mocking up something, just sort of put it up against there, okay? This will give you a better idea of what you're working with, what kind of dimensions you're working with, what the spacing needs to look like. This is some of the little things that I have learned in my time of framing things. Figures, carded figures, video games now. So I went in with a straight razor and I have cut this foam. This makes a ton of mess, okay? I had to cut this, and then I also had to cut this little section right there, okay? Just to be able to fit in there, but it needs to fit somewhat flush. Okay, so here we're going to introduce the felt that we bought. Felt is super malleable. I believe that's the right word. And it just wraps around here real easy. And this is where our bobby pins are also going to come into effect. Now, if I would have had a longer piece that went end to end, I should have bought a larger piece of felt. I wouldn't have had that little ripple right there, okay? Hindsight being 2020, I would know now to go back to town, get one longer piece, cut it to fit, and then get a longer piece of felt to cut it to fit. But I wanted to mock this up and just sort of show y'all what that would look like. It would be level too. ET over here wouldn't be off. Necessity is the mother of all inventions. And in this issue, I said, you know what? Maybe I should just elevate my two all-stars here and then offset them, bookend them with the movie games. And so that's exactly what I did. And I love the extra dimension it gives this case by doing that, because it's a cooler look to me than just all level. Alright, so here are my finished products. I really, really like the way that these turned out. With a little bit of money and a little bit of time, I was able to create something that looks really cool, as opposed to just putting some games out on a case or just leaving them just tucked away somewhere. So you can see how I added the yellow down here for the Donkey Kong and the red for the Pac-Man and the movie games. I really just like elevating that a little bit to give some more dimension. Now, if you had any kind of Atari stickers or any kind of little small figures to go with these inside that case, that would just give you another dimension, something extra cool to add. It would be really cool in this top case if I had like a little Atari symbol or something for the top. Okay, and don't forget your paintbrush, okay? That'll help you get any of that debris off of there. And then also that white eraser that can really help you clean booklets on that are just white. Don't use it on color, okay? White eraser, though, works miracles on these types of things. And then I just used Kleenex on the actual cartridges themselves. Hey, thank y'all very, very much for watching. This was such a cool experience. To get out there, dig through the garage, find an Atari system that I thought was long gone. I really sort of thought Dad might have thrown it away. Sorry, Dad. So to find it was just like, oh my goodness. And as immediately as I started digging through everything, I was like, I think I'm going to frame some of this stuff. I like framing stuff. But I mean, my whole man cave is a display of just kids' treasures, man. So it just made perfect sense to frame something from my childhood and the very first game system that I ever played, I ever owned. I don't know how many people I've told that I have grown up with a controller in my hand, literally from the time I was young, because these games come out 81, 82, somewhere in there. So from the time I was little, I grew up with a controller in my hand, and video games are still a huge part of my life. I just really love video games, and this was a great way for me to pay homage to where I began in my video game adventure from just a really, really young kid. And so now I have these displayed so that every day that I walk into my man cave, I can see these games and it'll take me immediately back to my childhood. So thank y'all very, very much for watching. Hey, what was the first video game system you grew up playing? What was the video game that you loved the most? Like, comment, subscribe, ask any questions that you may have. Thank y'all very much and love you long time.